This is A.S.D.P ufologist Terry Linch from Oregon. You're watching the Mothership Alien Strand podcast with your host, Donald Ledesma. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. So, just want to talk a little bit about what was supposed to happen today. We were supposed to be on UAP Studies podcast this morning, morning for South Texas here, and actually evening for South Texas, and morning still over there in Oregon. But I guess they're out of Canada, and we didn't get no feedback, no information or anything like that. And then we come to look at their webpage and they're shut down, man. So we don't know if the government shut them down or anything like that. But so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about kind of like what we were going to talk about on that podcast, but we're going to do a recap of what happened this week in UAP, UAP Weekly. Let's just call it that as it is, right? Because that's exactly what has been happening through everything that's been going on in the world of ufology, right? So don't forget to follow us on, YouTube. We're streaming live right now. We're streaming live on Twitter. We're streaming live on Alien Strand Podcast there on Facebook. So today, me and Terry Linch are going to do some recaps of what happened this week, and just kind of do some quick overviews on a lot of things that happened this week on UAPs. Unfortunately, we weren't able to be on that podcast today. Maybe they'll reschedule. I don't know. It took us about a month to get that one scheduled in because Terry and I are always busy folks. If you guys want to comment and chime in on anything that we're talking about, you want to ask a question, feel free. I'll put your comment right here. I'll throw it up on screen so everybody can see it. And feel free, whichever platform you're using, comment, man, and please hit a like and subscribe on our YouTube, on our Twitter, and on our Facebook. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get Mr. Terry Linch on the phone. He's live in Oregon right now. And then I think, let's see, what time is it over there? Oh shoot, it's 11:20 over there right now. Let's check it out. All right. There he is.
Good afternoon to you, and good morning to me.
Yeah, right on. Well, it looks like it's a beautiful day out there in Oregon right now. I wish we were there. I don't know, what's the temperature over there right now?
Oh, I'd have to say we're probably lower 70s, upper 60s.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, I've got perfect blue skies here. The smoke is not coming towards me right now. I've got 3 fires around me, and the smoke is all blowing the absolute correct direction today.
Wow.
So
yeah, I saw you guys were surrounded by fire right now again this year, like last year. Same thing. Kind of strange.
It's pretty much the same thing. When you were up here, we were up on filming on the Hive, and when we were up there, I was pointing out to you where the Wendigo trail starts, and just as I started to point out to you, smoke started billowing right out of the Wendigo. So we ended up with a whole bunch of smoke, pretty much covering everything but the big lava flow, which is what we call the Hive. So
right.
we
And
completely we end up getting completely surrounded by smoke almost 90% of the time around here during this time of year.
yeah, and we were shooting a Hive up there, plus the middle, so we were end up getting a lot more footage out there, and I still have a bunch of footage from that trip from last year. So, and that's the good thing about when you're out there filming. You get to get as much, especially that beautiful place out there in Oregon, man. In Lapine, Oregon. If you guys ever go out there, go visit Mr. Terry Linch in Lapine, Oregon, man, and I'm sure he'll be glad to give you a tour around of the nice little town that's there. But let's talk about what we did out there. We filmed the middle. If you guys haven't seen it, go check that out. It's on Amazon Prime, $2.99. If you can watch it, that's commercial free on Amazon Prime, and on Hoopla too. I think Hoopla's like $1.99. Commercial free, can't beat it. It's free on Tubi TV as well. But of course, you're gonna get all these commercials. And please give us a thumbs up, man. If you can, give us a thumbs up on the movie, and it helps get it circulated. Okay. So Terry, we filmed that whole movie based on his finds up there and what he found on top of Paulina Peak. It's going to be a nice surprise for you guys. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out. All right, and that will help out. It'll help out our ufology, and it help us do another documentary in which we're doing now. So it's called The Middle 2 CE3. We're finishing up where we left off. Okay, and all these awesome people are going to be on this next documentary. It's going to come out probably in November. Okay. So kind of be prepared for that when you're all sitting down, drinking your hot chocolate, or when the fires are going nice and cool outside in the dark. This is going to be a dark film, but it's going to show the realism of CE3, CE2 contact, and what these people go through. So a lot of people really did an amazing job on getting their disclosure out as far as this. And this is exactly what it is. It's disclosure. So Terry, you want to chime in a little bit on that?
Yeah, first off, I'd like to start off with thanking everybody that was involved in CE3. It takes a lot. It really takes a lot to be able to come forward and tell people what's going on. I don't know if anybody's realized what's happened recently when we had this disclosure that took place. But the media, okay, the media keeps continuing regardless of what's happening, with people testifying under oath, with people that are experts in pilot, a person that's an expert in the government that's doing this compartmental job, specifically to work on UAP, UFOs. They're still putting the stigma up. And when you are watching this, what you end up seeing is you see these people that you respect. I don't want to name out who they all are, because it's almost every one of the networks that are out there doing this, but they have this look on their face. It's they like they don't believe what they just heard, and they want to like smirk about it, and they want to belittle what these people have went through. These guys, their lives are in danger when they went and did this testimony. Okay, they weren't doing this because they were paid to do it. They aren't doing this because they're trying to become famous. No, they're doing it so people can have disclosure. And that's what A.S.D.P ufology is all about. We have people from all over the world now that are part of A.S.D.P. And these people, well, and some of these countries that they're in, they're actually taking a chance. Like I got one, I'm not going to mention his name at the moment. You have to go to our site, from Iran. If he says too much, they might come see him. If somebody say from South Africa says too much, they might come see him. Not all countries are as free as the United States and Australia and England.
Right.
We have affiliates in all of these different locations. We have friends in Scotland. Heather Maxwell McLean, she just joined us.
She did.
There's a few other people. We've been fortunate in the fact that all of these different people that come from all these different walks of life have all come together for a collaboration called A.S.D.P.
Exactly.
When I say that Alien Strand podcast is the mothership, I mean it. You guys are welcome. Every one of you are welcome to come here, tell your story. Okay, this is what we're built on: your story and respect. That's exactly what Alien Strand podcast stands for, and that's exactly what Alien Strand Disclosure Project stands for. We're a big family.
And Marisol, as a matter of fact, she just posted on this saying, "You're so right," for everything that you're saying, because it's we just had a podcast with her, right?
She was the best podcast I think you've ever had.
Yes, and that's what I've heard. I mean, I get kind of chills talking about it, because she gave us a lot of information on the things that she went through, and it was so sincere and everything that she was saying, and you could see it in the video. I recommend people watch it on YouTube instead of listening. I mean, listen to it; it'd be great if you don't have time, and you're driving in your vehicles. Listen to it. It's on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those. It's on your Apple podcasts. It's everywhere. You can even ask Alexa, and she'll play Alien Strand podcast. So this will probably be the last one that you'll see that if you ask her. Not last one ever, but you need to watch this because she gives a lot of insight of everything that happened to her on that podcast, man. And it's one of the best ones that we've had, because she was just so sincere and everything that we talked about, and then
she touched us so much.
She did.
Yeah, she touched on more than you expect from one person to be able to come in there and be so clear, so concise, and you could actually visualize what she was saying because she gave you the actual heart of what was going on. I'm impressed, Donald, that you found this person, and I'm even more impressed that she is part of A.S.D.P. now.
That's right, and she was part of A.S.D.P. before she even told her story. Well, she was on maybe 2 podcasts before mine, but it was only audio, and I think we were the first ones to exclusively put her on video, which was great. And that way you can see in her eyes and everything that she says, was so sincere, and it was almost tearful for her to talk about things sometimes, but that was one of the best things that she was just kind of letting you know of what happened to her as a child, as a young adult, even as an older adult, even her family. So please, if you have a chance, watch that podcast. It's on if you go to our YouTube, please subscribe, go to the live section. You'll see it there on the live section. We also have the audio podcast on there as well. So you'll see them both, right? So don't get confused. And on the video, you'll see pictures, you'll see her videos, you'll see everything like you're watching here today. So Ryan says, A.S.D.P. has been great. No judgment. I have learned so much in the process. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
As you know, Ryan is part of A.S.D.P. as well. He joined A.S.D.P. And he's actually representing San Antonio, Texas. And he's going to be on the film The Middle Part 2. So you'll be seeing him. I'm actually editing his part right now. I've been for the past couple of days. So, we wanted to touch base on everything that happened with the disclosure that happened, right? So the UAP congressional hearing that Terry was just talking about, we have David Grush, we have Ryan Graves, we had David Fravor, these guys gave it their all, and they spilt the beans about as much as they could without getting in trouble or without stepping over the line. Right. Talked about murders. They talked about, extraterrestrials that they knew they were biologically not human, right? That's what he says. That's what David Graves says. David Grush says. He says they're biological, non-human. So just kind of think about that for a minute. These guys are the ones that put it out there. What do you got to say on that, Terry?
Well, I would also like to throw in something. If you look at the crowd that just happens to be sitting behind him, and you aren't going to see it in this particular picture, but just off to the right of him, you'll see George Knapp sitting there. You'll see what we would call the original crowd here of Disclosure. These people all brought this to be. Okay, there was a lot of work. There's a lot of sleepless nights. I know you have sleepless nights over this. I do too. And there's so much effort that's put into this. Nobody's paid for this stuff. We just do it. Okay. It can become overwhelming sometimes because we have so much going on around the world at this point. At least when you start jumping into a certain bubble here of ufology, you end up finding more than you were expecting. You knew a lot, but you start finding out more because the circles you start getting into are a little bit larger, and you end up with people that can systematically tell you things that you didn't know that you thought you might have. Right. So this is the whole point of collaboration. I might have techniques that show me how to see what I want to see up in the sky. Just in case everybody wants to know, I am Nikon. There it is. I got it out again. Anyway, everybody gets in, they collaborate, and they teach you how to do this, they teach you how to do that. And now we've got these guys right here that are showing us that it's all over forward radar on United States military jets. Right. That they're able to chase them, that they're able to shut our radar down and our defense systems down, that if they were dangerous, this is the way I see it, is if they were dangerous, they wouldn't hesitate to take us out. But they seem to be observing. What I believe what we have going on here is something that's very ancient, that these things have been watching us. I'm calling them these things. Some people call them angels. Some people call them demons. But what it all boils down to is we're seeing them. Okay. Right, and not only are we seeing them, okay, now we have digital cameras today. The Mayans would tap that stuff into a wall. The Egyptians would tap that stuff into a wall. The Pueblo, the Fremont, the Azenazi, they would they'd make paintings and they'd put it up on the wall. Everybody wants to make sure that you know that this is an actual thing, and we have to get past the stigma. I'm going to go back to this probably a couple times during the podcast. We have to get past the stigma of this. People need to not be afraid to report what they've seen. If you've seen this, come out, tell us. Stop worrying about it. It's been proven, okay? They've told us over the national television of the United States that they've got craft, they've got biologicals that came from inside of these crafts, that what we're seeing, you're not crazy for seeing. You don't have to worry about the stigma anymore. The more people that report it, the less stigma there is. The news will have to respond to this. Okay, if I say, for instance, I've tried to advertise our movie and let the local news know that a movie was made here. Well, they'll take anything except that because it's talking about UFOs. And until they get a clearance on it, they're not going to try and put as much as they can about UFOs. However, we've got another news side that talks about cattle mutilations that have taken place over in Crook County, Oregon. Right. Okay. We're investigating that real soon here. Donald Ledesma and I are going to be getting documentation from Crook County Sheriff's Department, and then we'll be able to review. Right. I will be interviewing the investigators on this, but once we have that type of thing, this is where the stigma comes back out, because if I go and report this, then you end up with world news, or you end up, I don't want to get into too many of them. Just world news is in general. Okay. You end up with them on the other side. They put a panel together, and now you've got somebody that's a congressperson that really wasn't invited, but wants to put their 2 cents in. And they weren't part of it. They didn't have any of that information. So they want to put a stigma up again.
Let me tell you what that's true. All that is true. The stigma is always going to be there, and what my thoughts was on the congressional hearing. You know, we've had a couple of hearings, 1 or 2, and then people just mocked and laughed at him. A lot of news stations, I'm not going to mention any names, but major ones, they mock it. Oh, little green men. We start mentioning little green men, right? We start thinking about this, right? So they start thinking it's a joke, because they're not all going to be little green men, stuff like that. That's the way it was in the 60s, in the 70s, and the 50s. This is now, man. This is today. So, but my personal opinion on the congressional hearing, I think that what they did, not just bring a disclosure, but to tell the world now, it's freaking real, dude. It's freaking real.
That's exactly right.
It's freaking exactly real, right? And because as soon as he said biologically non-human, right? They have it. They have a craft. He knows where it is. He knows where they have it. Now, are they going to move it now because he said something? Probably. Hangar 18 kind of stuff, right? What happened back in the 60s, 70s. They moved all that. They moved it. As soon as it got out, boom, they moved it. So, and that's basically what's going to happen. But the reality
whether it's
is
Marshall Islands, Area 51, it doesn't matter. They have their locations where they go. It started off at Roswell, New Mexico, worked its way to Area 51 to the Marshall Islands.
Exactly.
This is where I'd love to see them try to storm the Marshall Islands. I mean, that'd be great. But what is that? That's a whole bunch of, but you'd have to have a lot of boats, and it's not going to happen. That's why they're there.
Well, speaking of Heather Maxwell McLennan, she says 100% I agree with Terry Linch. She knows, and she knows you actually better than we know you. I can't say it, but there's something there that you guys know. I know it, but nobody else knows. But it's one of those things. She knows you better than you know. But let me mention a couple of people from A.S.D.P. We got Paul Wellborn. We got Marisol.
Absolutely.
Smiley. We got Robert Bowe. We got Shannon Boomgard. She just got on board. We got Anibal Caballero.
All these people.
Ñones, Carlos Pera, Cascadia, Lightwing. He just got on our A.S.D.P. as a representative on the abduction. So remember him. He's going to help you on the science and kind of like a shaman. If you want to go in that kind of direction in the science part of trying to help with your abduction. We have Chris Hamill, David Aliff, of course, Heather Maxwell McLennan. She just joined up. So we're going to put all her information on there. She's actually out of Scotland, correct?
Correct. She was one of my very first students of ufology. Right. She was actually on a vacation one day in Arizona. Her and her family flew in from Scotland. They were going to do the whole Grand Canyon and all that stuff. The first, I think it was within 1 minute of doing everything I told her to do, she had 2 craft shoot past her on a video, and we couldn't believe how fast that happened. She was right on the money, and she's a really good person to talk to. She understands what's going on. She has had her own experiences with the. I'm not even supposed. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this, but she had her own experience with the Blue Avion. Which was also talked about in your last podcast. And I was beside myself when it was brought up.
And then we have Jody Lynn Brown. She's out of Sedona, Arizona. She's going to be on the film. We have Justin Boone here out of Robstown here in Texas. Michael Beavers, he's in your area in Oregon. Ryan Keaton, of course, and we have Shauna Gilmer, and of course Mr. Terry Lynch and myself. So these are the folks right now, and there's many more that are part of A.S.D.P. That are on board right now. And what Terry Lynch was talking about, he was talking about the extraterrestrials that Marisol was talking about. And I don't have the picture of which one she drew or anything like that, but these, as close as she got to as a child, seeing which one of these pretty much matched up with what she saw was Skinny Bob. She goes, it looked just like Skinny Bob, the top left photo there, if you're watching today. So, and we touched base on extraterrestrials. We touched base on, the mothership, things like that, things that people would say, hey, man, these people are crazy, right? Here we go with the stigmas again, right? There we go with the stigma. Back to stigmas. We talked about reptilian aliens as well, that they showed her on that podcast. You have to watch it, man. You have to watch that podcast. But we here at A.S.D.P. we try to jump in, and we, like I said, like Terry said, we don't try to shun anybody out. We don't try to discredit you, anything like that. Now, if it doesn't look real, then we'll show you this is why it doesn't look real to us, or whatever.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you about 90% of everything that everybody sends us is almost 100% real. At least 90%.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. We'll get some CGI stuff in there once in a while. We have to say, I'm sorry, man, it's CGI, but this is what we're seeing. Of course, because we have Ani Ball, we have Chris, out there with their nice analysis and spectrums. Now,
I'm about to be there.
Yeah, you're getting close, man. So I wanted to show you the video from Mr. Carlos Diaz. We posted it on A.S.D.P. and on Alien Strand, but this is the one of Carlos Diaz. I think he shot this in the late 90s. I'm not sure. I don't know if there was pictures, but there's this video, and I don't know if this video is almost legit. It might be, but I know there's photos, and it looks exactly like this. So let's go ahead and show this so you guys can see what we're talking about. There you go.
How beautiful is that?
I know. You remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been popping out lately on feeds and stuff like that. Because it's just a strange event that he was able to catch on his on photography. I don't know what camera he had, but in the 90s, it was like a professional camera, I believe, and he started shooting these photos, and they were sharp images, at night. There in Mexico. So he was able to grab a lot of those photos and things like that. Just wanted to recap on that, and if people want to see the videos, there are on our A.S.D.P. and they're on Strand as well. What do you guys say about that one, Terry?
Well, first off, speaking about Mexico, thank you to Tiburcio Sanchez. He's a A.S.D.P. member of Mexico. He also gets volcanoes, UFOs and stuff going into the volcanoes down there. That, by the way, that video, that's the fire in the sky. That's the exact color you need to look for in the sky, slowly moving across the sky. This is something. The last few times I've gotten up and went outside at about 3 in the morning, I've been able to pull some stuff off here that I wasn't expecting. I did a CE5 just this morning. The last couple of days, I've seen this one craft that was traveling southbound down the Cascade mountain range, and then it cuts and it goes right over the top of my house, right over the top of me. The last time I went out, that was because coyotes had taken something in my yard. So I ran out with a shotgun, a flashlight, and I didn't have time to grab anything. So I'm standing there with a shotgun and a flashlight, and I'm seeing this craft move. Coyotes are done. So I'm watching this instead. I went back out this morning. I tried the same thing. This time I was out there with a camera, and I started talking to it. I said, "Hey, I know you're here. I've seen you. I've told lots of my friends about you. Is it possible you show yourself to me again?" Well, they lit up before I could get the camera on. They went way high up, and I just happened to be holding the only camera I had was, of course, my cell phone, and it went way up and out of the range of what my cell phone could pick up. But I could clearly see it, and it beamed at me a couple times, basically letting me know that it could hear my thoughts or what I was saying. I said these things out loud, okay, calmly, not afraid. I stood there and I calmly asked them to show themselves, and they did. This is something that I don't know if it's because I'd seen them eye to eye before. I don't know if that's why we've got that connection. I truly feel like they heard what I said.
Right.
You know, I was not under the influence of any kind of intoxicants or anything like that. I just clearly just walked out. I looked up, I took a big deep breath of Oregon fresh air, and there it was, moving directly over the top of me. Every time, I might add, they go directly over the top of the Cascadia guides, over the top of Plana Peak before they turn. So this is definitely their beacon.
Well, you had you had the same experience as Ryan Keaton, you know, when we were out there filming in San Antonio. Remember the film we did on the podcast about a week ago we talked about? Okay, that's the same thing happened to him. You know, we weren't seeing anything, but he was able to focus, concentrate, and kind of talk to them. And lo and behold, they pop out, right? So CE5, right?
That's called the CE5.
You don't have to pay for that either, right?
No, you don't. If you get enough people together that are wholehearted about what they're doing, right, this is going to happen. There's no way around it. This is exactly what happens. It turns out that's not a really big secret. The Native Americans, they have their dances around the fire at night or day during their powwow. I believe that this is what they're doing. To them, it's spirit world, because these things come from inside the earth. They come out, they shape shift, they do all kinds of stuff. The Native Americans 100% believe this as Mother Earth, or if you want to go as far as calling everything Gaia. These things are coming from inside the earth. They're up in our skyline. They're inside the earth. And I'm going to just say it again. At this point, it might be a cliche, but we're in the middle. We're in the middle, man. That's where we live. These things have more ground than we have. We're just a surface thing. They're inside and they're outside, and they're looking at us. I don't suggest taking a firearm and trying to shoot at them. I don't suggest trying to do any kind of harm to these things. They seem to be pretty damn peaceful.
Yeah, they haven't been aggressive at all.
Of course, unless you're cattle.
Well, yeah. Well, they're hungry. They like some steak, you know, or whatever.
We like steak too.
That's right. So, and then let's talk about that a little bit. So, you know, people seem to be using UAP laser pointers or regular laser pointers to point at the sky. You know, the top two photos you see up there, you know, people just shooting straight up at the sky. Of course, FAA has regulations. You cannot point this crap at airplanes as they're flying by. Please do not do that. Wait till you have a clear open spot. There's no aircraft. You know, use the app. You know, download this app that you are able to see if there's any aircraft going by, because you don't want to be pointing that at them, you know, up in the sky. Because
you could blind a pilot.
Yeah, and then, you know, you'll cause some catastrophic thing, you know, that you'll regret for the rest of your life. But
there could be a lot of people involved.
But these UAP lasers, laser pointers, they can be very effective. I've seen them very effective to where people use them up in the sky, you know, and they'll get a response like at the very bottom. That is a actual response from a UAP that flashed back, you know, that was a UFO up in the sky, you know. So, I mean, I do recommend using a laser pointer. I think it helps attract them.
Green or blue diode, either one.
Right. And we've seen them run from them, and we've seen them attract. So whatever's up there, it may be 100 different species up there of extraterrestrials that we're not seeing, but they seem to be attracted to laser pointers.
We had an experience up here at a place called Wikiup Reservoir. Now I was taken out there by my counterpart up here. His name's Jonathan Mitchell, A.S.D.P ufologist. He's the number 2 ufologist in Oregon. Hi, I'm number 1. Anyway, he's my partner in this. It's a joke between us. Yeah. Anyway, he took me out there. We're in a side by side. It's like the middle of the night, and where we live, we can actually jump into a side by side, and we're off in the wilderness and find ourselves out in the middle of a reservoir and not touch a single road. So we're out in the middle of this reservoir. The water line was way down, and we saw like almost identical to that orange ball that you were just showing the craft. They're like a fire in the sky. I felt fire in the sky after what happened in Snowflake, because they named it Fire in the Sky. But he's right. It's like a fire in the sky. They look just like a campfire. So we're out there. At that time, he had the green diode laser, and he starts chasing this thing that just went over the top of us, and it's heading over towards Polina Peak. And every time he puts it out in front of it, the thing turns around, it goes the other way. Or he puts it to the side and it turns and it goes this way. And it stopped. And it was moving around like as fast as we could shine the laser in front of it. It was moving away from it, trying to not get hit by the laser. Well, after a little bit, we got a bunch of helicopters out here that are looking for whatever the hell's moving around up in the sky. And everybody in town heard the helicopters. They didn't see what we were chasing. And I got to also add, don't point them at flocks of geese, because they'll crash into each other, and we don't want that. That's what we did, and we found out. So don't point them at geese. They try and get away from them, and they'll smash into each other. So
they didn't die. They just crashed and kind of went
right.
down.
Well, they landed in a reservoir. They were mad, and they flew away again.
Right.
But it was okay. It was kind of comical, but don't do it.
Don't do it.
You feel as bad as I look right now. I promise.
Well, I mean, it's laser. Like I said, laser pointers are a great tool, and of course, if you have your cell phones, right, there's a lot of apps. I know iPhone has a lot, and of course, Androids too. So you can have EMF detectors on there, and they actually work pretty good. When I went back to New Mexico, out to that area where we had filmed the first movie, I had actually threw my EMF meter out there. It went up just a little bit, but I just wanted to see if, what if there was any differences, because she said that the light was hitting right there, right in the field area. So I was just kind of walking around with my EMF meter, testing it, just seeing if there's any more electronic magnetic fields that are stronger in that area that they were attracted to. But just like you saw in that video from Mexico, right? You see it shooting a light. It shoots a light, like boom. It's just kind of scanning. It just shoots a light, every, I don't know, maybe 20 yards or so, 30 yards. Well, she said that's exactly what it was doing. When you watch the movie, the middle of the film, you'll see her comments on that. And
I'll be right there.
And it's just one of those things that you have to really, really understand that what you're witnessing in the skies, and then you use all kinds of tools necessary in order to get the findings that you want, right? As far as your UAP analysis, of course we have the apps, everything that you can find on A.S.D.P. And I suggest everyone, if you can, go to A.S.D.P. Go to our website. It's on the ticker down there. Go check it out, man. Just visit. Do something in there and give us some comments. If you want to be a part of A.S.D.P, be a part of A.S.D.P. We would love for you guys to be a part of it. If you want, you don't have to, but it helps with report writings, and then we throw it up on our website. We're currently working on 3 cases right now, and as soon as we finish those cases up, we're going to put the reports up where you can download. They're on A.S.D.P. So just kind of we wanted today to give you a little FYI on what was going on and a little recap of everything that happened this week in UAP world, UFO, disclosure, because that's exactly what it was. What, Derek?
Well, I would also like to bring back up what just happened down in Las Vegas. The family down there, they saw what they saw. They reported it. The police saw what they saw. They reported it. And then the media turned it into stigma again. Right. Remember I said I was going to continue to bring up the stigma tonight. What we need is people to actually become journalists again. Okay,
Real ones.
Donald, you're a journalist. You
Oh
actually
yeah.
go out, you investigate, you do what you're supposed to do. You actually know how to to perform an investigation. You're a former police officer. You know how to go and investigate something. You actually understand how actual people will open up and talk to you because you have that calm, you know how to talk to people.
No, exactly.
One of
Yeah.
the best one of the best things that a person could have is what you have when it comes to directing movies, because I was afraid of cameras when I first met you. Look at me now.
I know he can't get you off.
I'm not afraid at all. Yeah, it's hard to shut me up now, but that's because you trained me. You taught me some stuff, and you're teaching other people the same thing. I'm not the
Exactly.
only person out here that has gained from meeting with you, Donald. Uh, it's every one of these people that got to be part of the middle two. Everybody got to see how well you know how to put things together. I mean, what time did you go to bed last night?
1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, what were you doing? What were you up to?
I was editing the middle
You were
part too.
editing. Man, you are a freaking machine when it comes to putting out disclosure. You're straight up a machine when it comes to putting out disclosure. You have no problem talking with anybody, any government, any military person. You have the rapport that people want. And I'm going to go a step further here. The last person that I saw with this type of rapport that did what you do, his name is Art Bell. Okay,
Nice.
that's the last person I'd seen that has your charisma, your ability to talk to people, your ability to get the information about UFOs, ghosts. We aren't just UFO. It's also paranormal. We
Exactly.
have a whole paranormal side to this whole thing, which oddly enough, the guy who taught me about UFOs kind of runs Annabelle Quiones. That man is locking in on this just like that. He was on top of it. We have a really good group of people
We do.
around the world. And we didn't mention some of the other people. We got people in India, we got people in Iran, we got people in Pakistan, we've got people in the Philippines, we've got people Taiwan, we've got people everywhere. Japan, what are they called? Japan ufology is one of the groups we're tied with, but we have a whole group from around this entire world, and we are like becoming a symbiont where everybody's working together, where we need each other's information to get the next answer, and those gears are slowly turning together. Then you mix in with what the government just did. Well, it wasn't the government. It was people who worked for the government
Right.
who have been tried to hush. They tried to shut them up. Okay, this is the part I wanted to touch on, and I'm going to look around because I am outside and I don't want a sniper. but here's the skinny, folks. The Pentagon has been siphoning money off of all kinds of different projects to where they have billions and billions and billions of dollars. Whenever we start talking about disclosure, it brings everything to light. We go from darkness to light, and once we go from darkness to light, now all of a sudden there's a spotlight on that money and where it's coming from. And this is why people are getting killed. Okay? That's why these folks were so scared to go testify. Every single one of those people weren't just a national hero, they're a global hero for disclosure. They did everything they could to make sure it got out. They got it out, regardless of what might happen to them next. They got it out. Okay,
And it's recorded.
It made history. Everything they did was history.
Exactly.
Okay. I want to let you know that Alien Strand podcast and A.S.D.P has already made history with this discovery on top of the mountain here. That was a small piece of history. These guys did a big piece of history. Okay. Everything that you see that's an ancient culture, anytime you see a giant marking on the ground, like the Cascadia guides, or anything that's kind of unexplained, a giant geoglyph, That's a marker letting you know that you're in something's territory, somewhere around there. They're going into the earth. Okay. That's also look up because they're above you there. You're going to see them coming around to go into the earth.
Right.
This is the garage door.
Exactly. And it's you touch base on that in the movie The Middle, so please go watch that movie. I highly recommend it. So we have one more video before we close out. All right, Terry. I grabbed this online. I forgot where it came from, but it freaked me out so bad that I had to throw it out here so people can see. Okay. So if you're going to watch this podcast, you can see what's going on here. Now, this is going to be something strange, man. This is off of a Ring camera. Okay. And this guy's narrating it. I guess I may be another YouTuber. I don't know, but you see something come down and you see something start, like, I don't know, man. I can't explain it to you, but here goes. You ready? You guys ready? Here we go.
And do you see it? There's a face in the droplet that fell from the UFO. Do you see the face and the arm? That is incredible. Now let's look at the raw footage and make up your own mind what we're looking at. Now look at that. This green glowing disc, and an object comes down from it and into the ground and disappears. I'll show you close up this in just a second, but what do you think is going on? This was caught on a Ring cam. You see the date in the lower right hand corner. This was just reported today. Outstanding footage. What are we looking at, guys? What is going on here? Is that an alien pod moving, transporting from an alien ship to an underground base somewhere? There was a face on it, guys. There was a face on it. Now, this is the full uncut footage. I'm not going to move it fast forward. You can move it fast forward, but I want you to see the full uncut footage. But I have a close-up coming, a close-up, and you can see the face and everything as it's falling. It's weird. It's strange. And what's going on? Look at that right there. Do you see the face in the drop? Do you see that face? Guys, is this the beginning of an alien invasion? Is this the actual first footage of an alien craft transporting a living alien person into an underground base? I don't know. You tell me, guys.
You see that?
I agree, and yes, that's exactly what just happened. They're using the Rosen Bridge. I cannot stipulate that enough. Dr. Nathaniel Rosen, Dr. Albert Einstein. It's called a thin wall wormhole. And what just happened there was something was moving down and something went back up. I could clearly see something moving back up when it turned to a white. So what ended up happening is I'm going to say that when they use this is how they open up a solid object like Earth. They put out it's a molecule thing where they're shaking the molecules to make this all happen. Okay, I'm using my fingers and I'm doing like that, but that's to show you what a molecule does. Say like when you boil water,
right.
It starts to bubble. The molecules get excited. You put something in a microwave oven, the molecules get excited. That's why it's getting hot. It has nothing to do with actually putting a flame on it. It's because the molecules are shaking. Okay, so what's happening here when you see something like this is you've got a displacement of the molecules coming from this location to this location. It seems like they're using a photon type of delivery system to move these molecules. We're molecules from top to bottom. We're molecules, and when you do this displacement of a molecule, different things happen. Different things are going on. The simplest term, your hot pocket. You're going to heat it up from the inside out because you just displaced all the molecules by putting what's called a magnetron, which is what's in the top of the microwave. You have a magnetron on the top, magnetron on the bottom, and when it's turning, they're turning opposite directions, and they do this heat up of things.
Let me ask you this: why do you think it was happening right there, like literally in front of that ring cam? You know what I mean? It was like it wasn't
because that's probably, they probably had something on the ground, or something was moving around on the ground there. I would actually like to find out more about what happened in that area, that location. Maybe there was something that took place with cattle that day.
Right.
Maybe somebody came up missing.
Exactly.
There are those cases where people come up missing. If you were to go into, say, like Yellowstone, Yosemite National Park alone in California, there's like like over 1,000 people that have come up missing just going on a hike in that park. Okay, they don't know where they went. They don't know what happened. They don't find a body. But you're in the middle of nowhere. Okay, that's where these things live. That's where they are. They live. You see a giant rock face, like Half Dome. Okay, they go through that. That's part of what they're doing. They're going through that giant granite boulder that happens to be the largest one in the world. You know, they
Right.
go through this stuff. They make what's called a thin wall wormhole. Again, I'd have to be on the craft. I'd have to know more. I'm not going to say that I'm a physicist, but I
Right.
will say that I've got about 700 hours of Dr. Leonardo Susskind lectures under my belt.
And it's a great
But
hypothesis.
I'm
too.
not
I
a
mean,
physicist.
right,
Right.
but you've put it together already to where that's how it's breaking down, right? So and
Right.
that's what we want people to understand, that we don't know the answers to everything that's happening, but this is a great way to start with a hypothesis and science and how molecules work and how everything gets broken down. Even when we start talking about propulsion of the UFO crafts, how everything works. This is science, right? And this is what you understand probably a lot more than I do. But it's just a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there that do understand it very, very well.
Right.
Go ahead.
We've got a new individual that had just joined up with us. I kind of put him to the test the other day when we were having a conversation. I was asking what he could bring to the table with us, and he started talking science to me. And of course, we know where I'll go. I asked him what he knew about quantum entanglement.
Entanglement. Yeah.
He went through quite a long explanation. By the time he was done, he actually gave me the answer I was looking for, literally right at the end when he said photons, and he said the split experiment, and I said, you just answered my question.
Yep, that was it right there. And
Yeah.
That's Mr. Cassidy Lightwing, I believe is his name. He just joined you. Like I said, you are a new A.S.D.P member. So
Smart man.
It's a very, very smart man. And we're glad to have him on our team, because sometimes we have to do different angles, because there's all different kinds of alien abductions, alien experiences. Not everyone is the same. They're all different, right? And this is what we always try to talk about, especially with my regular audio podcast, when I talk about stories about people's abductions. And I go into detail of what happened to them at the time, right? A lot of people have paralysis. A lot of people, they get these ringing in their ears, or they lose time, or they end up somewhere else that they weren't before, right? Away from their home. Sometimes they have clothes. Sometimes they're naked, and they don't understand how that happened to them, right? And this is what we try to break down with Alien Strand podcast and A.S.D.P, because now I used to talk about all the stories of the past. Now everything's starting to come to life, right? Because now we're starting to get more stories of the people of today, man. Today, of what's happening, of people of today. They're starting to open up like a flower. Let's just put it to you that way. Right. It started off as a seed, they started growing. Now they want to talk about it, and which is beautiful, because it's beautiful to me, and it opens up like a flower, right? So, and I'm glad they're starting to do that, because now it gives us more of an understanding. And just like what you just talked about, I want to know if there was a cattle mutilation, or their mutilation that night.
Something, yeah,
or
something took
happened,
place.
Right.
Something took place there.
And that's what we do as A.S.D.P. We just, if you have something that you've seen, if you have something that you videoed personally, if you have somebody that saw the same thing you did, bring them to us. If you know any other stories in that, because we want to know if there's anything happened 20 miles from there, 5 miles from there, 100 miles from there that saw exactly the same thing. Because what we're trying to do, right, is trying to put this piece of the puzzle together. So we know that at least that was the same craft, or that was the same extraterrestrial, or that was exactly what's happening over there. We need a timeline, right? Timelines are important. If you reported it to the police department, the sheriff's office, anything like that is very important to us. Even if the stigma comes with it and they start laughing at you, tell them, I don't care. I want to make a report, because they have to at that point. Okay. So don't let them talk you out of making a report. As far as the governments, local governments, you make a report of it. Anything that you see in the sky, anything that you took a picture of, anything that don't give them your footage. Don't give them anything like that. You hold on to that yourself. Okay?
Send that to us.
Yeah.
Send that to us. Then you can show it to them. But send it to us first.
But we'll go ahead and keep in safekeeping. You know what I mean? Because you gotta think about this just for a minute. These guys that came out in Congress and did all this, it was all behind closed doors at the beginning. Everybody was hiding. They were hiding behind a curtain. Okay, now they got it all out. Now people knows who they tell the story. So if any of them gets killed or anything freak happens to them, we know. We already know
that's
where
exactly
that's going to come from. So I think that the stigma of them probably getting murdered or killed is probably wiped clean. Because you know what? Now NASA just came out with 2 days ago. We're going to start studying UAPs and UFOs, and we're gonna put a committee out and blah blah blah, right?
Waste of money and time.
Why now?
That's a waste of money and time. See, that brings me back to that congresswoman that was on. Again, I'm not going to say the name of the show because I'm not going to try and pick a fight with him. But they had a congresswoman that was on there. She was never part of any of these committees. She was never part of any of this stuff. And you know what? She sat there and said, how come with all these cameras that we have all over the world, nobody has any pictures or videos of it? Is she looking at this show or anything else out there? Because that tells me that she's put no more thought into it than saying it. Okay?
Exactly.
They brought her up there as an expert for what reason? I would like to touch on something from the past. He's fallen. He's passed away. John Edmonds. He owns Stardust Ranch in Rainbow, Arizona, just outside of Phoenix. This ranch was known as the Alien Ranch. At one point, I was going to take over the ranch for him so he could move on to the west or East Coast. And I was going to run the ranch, and we're going to open up a ufology school there. It's right on the edge of the Estrella Mountains, where A.S.D.P ufologist Tino Gallegos from Arizona, he's on the other side of this mountain, literally on the other side of that mountain, over on the Gila Reservation. This is a real big hot spot. Anyway, what I want to talk about is the biological non-human. He had made statements to me in an interview I did with him, because I interview everybody. There's more to me than just looking good. So I interview people. And when I interview people, I ended up finding out that he took a non-biological. He said that when he killed this thing, and he did, he used a samurai sword when he did so. And he said that they were more like a plant. They were almost plant-like. They're how we're skin, we're this type of material, that they're built out of almost like a woodier or a soft tissue plant. And this is what their skin was like. And he also said he ran across mantis beings that were 3 to 4 foot tall that were out in the back end of his property. He also stated in one case where they were trying to abduct his wife, and he stopped them while they were trying. He ended up fortifying his house so they couldn't get in, or sort of fortify, whatever you want to call it. But he was having they were having a hard time getting into his house now, and he had made a mistake by asking somebody who lived on the property that used to take care of whatever the issues were to leave. He said that was the biggest mistake he'd ever made. He ended up passing away due to an infection. from that property, something that scraped him, and he ended up with an infection, and that's what took his life.
Wow.
However, before he left, he showed me different photographs of things that were that some of them were in his book. He has a book, but some of these things he didn't share with anybody but me. And it was because I was planning on going down there and taking over. He showed me the Phoenix Lights. The night the Phoenix Lights were there, him and his wife rolled up as fast as they could in a Corvette that they had, and they turned around and they saw these things moving right down towards them, and these things disappeared into the Estrella. Well, when they went into the Estrella, there was, I think it was 4 hikers that were up in there. Nobody's seen them again. Same night. They disappeared right over these people. Okay. Same night as the Phoenix Lights. These things live, again, like I said, inside the mountains. Tino Gallegos, A.S.D.P ufologist out of Phoenix there, he has video footage of a fleet of 17 craft going past, and just before they go past, one drops straight down into the top of the mountain at full speed. It just drops. He's doing I think he was doing it in a slow motion feed, but this is what's a regular basis for him. He'll sit there and he'll film things that are going past, and you'll get this craft in like one portion of a frame, which is 10 sections. You get that one portion that it just shows up and it's gone. That's how fast these things are moving. That's one frame.
When you talked about him passing away from an infection, right? So I've talked about it in my podcast before. There is a law against contacting an extraterrestrial or or even touching one because of the biological pathogens that they might have.
We don't know what they've got.
We don't know what they have. So, he might have touched this thing or made a cut after he cut it up. I mean, you said it would look like a plant. So I'm figuring it had layers in its skin. And basically that's how it's made. So at least we know.
Almost like instead of skin, they have cambium.
Right. But at least we know that they're produced. Let's just put it to you that way. Mm-hmm. They're built.
They bleed. They die. He said the problem was as soon as he would kill these things, they went away. Okay. I don't understand. You kill one of us, we sit there, we got a murder scene, we got all kinds of police, we got all that. He said these things just, after he killed them, they went away.
I said, the hell with that crap. I ain't dying today.
I mean, he would kill them. He would literally cut their fucking head off. Excuse me. Right. And they would disappear after he did what he did.
I heard about that.
He said that his wife was asleep, levitating out in the yard, heading up towards the ship. He opened up on it with an AR-15, and he shot till they let her go.
Wow.
And then he got his wife back. This is, I believe it's actually in his book. Now his wife, she's a friend. We don't talk. We really don't talk. We talked at his funeral. We did a virtual funeral. Her and I've had a few conversations. I don't even know if the book's still available, but I recommend if you get a chance to see his book. That's probably one of the most accurate things you're going to find out about the Estrella Mountain Range in Arizona. There's a couple of other people out there that are kind of, they got some things. There's one individual out there that's learned a little bit from the Navajo, but they kind of don't want him back around because he's a little too arrogant.
Hey, I got the name of the book. It's called Stardust Ranch. The Incredible Story by John Edmonds and Bruce with Bruce McDonald, and this is what it kind of looks like. If you guys can see it, this is what the book looks like.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the book.
It's a recommendation. I think if you buy any of those books from them, it does help with his widow. Okay, I think she had to sell the ranch because she couldn't afford to keep up the place. It was a place where and I'm going to tell you a little more about Mr. Edmonds. He had this big ranch where you could put like 100 horses if you wanted. There were so many horse corrals and everything. And what he did is he had a horse trailer, and if there was a fire in California, he'd run up there and fill it up with people's horses, and he'd bring them back to the ranch until the fire was over. Then he'd ship the horses back to him. This is what kind of guy he was. He wasn't a bad guy. This guy was a drug and alcohol counselor in Phoenix, Arizona. He was so level-headed. He was literally like talking to Donald here. He was somebody you could talk to, somebody you could learn something from. But my heart kind of broke when he died. He was a good guy.
You know, it's unfortunate that he's gone. I wish he was going to be in our film, The Middle. As a matter of fact,
he was.
He was. We had already talked to him and everything about it. So this is right before he passed. Before I even started filming, you know, once I found out the news, I was like, oh no. So, you know, that's unfortunately that happened to him. And, I hope he's in a better place now, not worried. But anyway, if you guys can get his book, and it does help his wife, and that will help her, you know, go through the rest of her life kind of a little comfortably, you know what I mean? So she can at least get through life. And I know it's probably more harder for her because I'm sure she was married to him for a very long time. But, we're going to go ahead and get ready to close out, Terry. And you got anything else to say about A.S.D.P, anything like that? And
I do. I've got one more thing. Disclosure starts with your story and respect. This is what we're about. This is what you're about. If you want to tell your story, please contact us at asdp.com. I believe it's powered by GoDaddy. I think that if you get yourself out there and you get your story out there, you're going to make sure that other people, you know, feel they get to feel better for knowing that they're not the only one that saw what happened. They get to feel a sense of security that the rest of the world does know, and people back them up. Don't worry about the stigma that the media is at. The more people talk, the better it is. The better it is for the rest of the world. Disclosure happens now, and you're seeing it here on ASDP and Alien Strand podcast.
All right. Well, thank you for being on the show today and recapping. And what we'll probably do is every week we'll do a recap of what happened during the week. If anything new pops up on Disclosure, we'll have a regular show up going. And we talked about this before, but we're starting to get more out there because there's just a lot more happening. And like I said, thank you, Terry, for being on the show today. We really appreciate you and everything you're doing out there in Oregon. And you are Nikon, and we know that 100%. And let's just see if Nikon is listening to today's show. And yeah. We'd like
exactly.
them to,
Nikon. I need Nikon. I'm just going to tell you right now. I need a P900. I need a P950. I need a P1000. Okay. Don't worry about sending me that $16,000 800 millimeter lens you got. Send me the $1,000 3000 millimeter bridge camera.
Right on.
You can do that. And if you have anything at cinematography, buddy, I'm going to make sure that Mr. Ledesma over here gets to use it, and you're going to see what real magic is with the Nikon.
Damn right I will. Hey, and Sony too.
Sony rocks.
That's right.
I love Sony. Hey, Nikon, we need a processor like that inside of the P1000.
Exactly.
Yeah, we won't say Sony again.
Right. All right, brother. Well, you have yourself a good day, man, and enjoy that beautiful weather out there in Oregon. And we really appreciate you, and thank you for talking about the stories today, and just mentioning Mr. John Edmond today. It was very heartfelt moment there for you. So, but thank you.
Yeah. You guys have a great day, and I look forward to seeing your Disclosure, people. Have a good one.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast today. We just kind of did a recap of what happened during the week, and I appreciate everybody for chiming in and putting in your comments and everything like that. You know, we appreciate everything that's happening out there with Disclosure, and you know, Heather, she's out there, you know, in Scotland, and everybody around the world watches this show. You know, and I just want to thank everybody for being a part of it, being a part of A.S.D.P. You know, don't forget, you know, you can catch this podcast, everyone, on 26, 28, 29 platforms already, you know, on audio. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, on Twitter, hit a like, subscribe, follow, even on Facebook. You know, we really appreciate everything that everybody does for Disclosure. All right. So until then, you know, you guys just have yourselves a wonderful day. Have yourselves a good evening. Have yourselves